This is Ethan, and I'm here with Dave, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 247-inch.
On this episode, we conclude our interview with Cris Shapan, the artist behind Weird Al Yankovic Stories, graphics, and the handy and whatever you like music videos.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Welcome one and all to episode 247-inch.
We have a really great episode lined up for today, but Ethan, I think you need to tell us all about your special wood?
Well, thanks, Dave. I'm really proud of this wood. Last week, I attended a local performance of Comedy Bang Bang, which was hilarious and a fantastically fun time. And afterwards, I got to say hi to none other than Scott Aukerman and Paul F. Tompkins. So we got pictures together. I brought my Pit Pat prop from Mr. Show, which was really cool to show them. And I even had the guys sign my poster from Weird the Al Yankovic Story.
Well, that's all well and great, but would you please continue?
Yes, of course. So at our 2000-inch party in Los Angeles this past summer, Weird prop master J.M. Kehoe brought us some pieces of the actual stump that had the watermelon smashed on it in Weird the Al Yankovic Story.
Yes, I have that displayed in my glass display case, one of the highlights of my Weird Al collection and one of the highlights of your Weird Al collection.
Yes, well, since Paul F. Tompkins played Gallagher in the film and he smashes said watermelon, I had him sign a chunk of the stump, and now this signed piece of wood is one of my most prized possessions.
Yes, that's really cool. You showed me the picture earlier. Next to the signature, Paul wrote one take in reference to the fact that he smashed that watermelon perfectly just that one time.
Oh, I love it so much. If you want to see a picture of it, I posted it over in our Facebook group over at group.2000inch.com for everybody to check out.
Well, before we get to the news and this episode's interview, this episode, number 247-inch, lands on a very significant date.
Yes, today, October 23rd, is a very special day for someone Dave and I care deeply about.
His music has gotten us through tough times, and he's been awarded with Grammy Awards for his excellent achievements.
And we have cheered and laughed at his roles in both television and film.
Today we celebrate his birthday as a way of saying thanks for all that he has done for us over these past decades of our lives.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, happy birthday, Dwight Yoakam!
Oh, and I see here it's also Weird Al's birthday.
He knows how we feel about him.
Well, from all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, happy birthday, Weird Al.
Our correspondent Mike Minnick was able to secure an exclusive interview with the birthday boy himself regarding the newly announced 2025 tour.
Wait, Dwight Yoakam's touring in 2025? Oh, you mean Weird Al. All right, take it away, Mike.
Mike Minnick here with my special guest, Weird Al Yankovic. Al, thanks for having me. Now, you recently announced your new tour.
I'm back, baby.
You're calling this one the Bigger and Weirder Tour. Even the poster has you.
Rising above the city.
I bet you're eager to get back on the road.
There's no feeling any greater.
I know I'm ready to hit up some shows.
Just you wait, just you wait.
Now, Reddit is also going crazy with posts about the tour.
I don't care about your karma.
Tickets are selling like hotcakes. That must be exciting.
I'm really beside myself.
And what fans seem excited for the most is the return of the costume changes.
I might be wearing Swiss cheese or maybe covered with bees.
Now, not joining you this round is comedian Emo Phillips. Why is that?
He opens his mouth, always says something foul.
And where did you first come across Puddle's Pity Party? Did you consider any other acts?
Most of them were nudniks.
You also announced that in addition to your longtime band, you have 4 extra musicians. Can you give us a hint on who they might be?
3 of the guys in Motley Crue.
Now, I also hear you take an interest in every aspect of the tour, even down to transportation. What sort of things do you direct the drivers to do?
I want you to park that Big Mac truck.
And what's a typical day on tour like?
Wake up to a bunch of stuff and then go back to sleep.
With such a full schedule, what time do you usually get to bed?
At 4:30 in the morning.
And how do you kill time on the bus?
I'm a whiz, a minesweeper, I can play for days.
Unrelated to the tour, but you have one song that's just an instrumental. Why is that?
Couldn't think of any lyrics.
Well, looks like we're out of time. Any final words? Once again, I'd like to thank my guest, Weird Al Yankovic. For 2000 Inch, I'm Mike Minnick.
A huge thanks for that excellent reporting and interview, Mike. Now, I think it's just about time for what's happening in Weird Al related news.
Just this week, Jimmy Fallon finally teased what Weird Al's involvement will be on his new album, Holiday Seasoning.
Weird Al and the Roots will join Jimmy for a song called New Year's Eve Polka 54321, which Jimmy claims will be the first song that specifically wishes a happy New Year's Eve.
So I guess they're not including Auld Lang Syne?
Well, that's New Year's Day, Dave, not New Year's Eve.
Okay, well, the album drops November 1st, and we cannot wait to hear the new song.
Last week, social media users heard some brand new vocalizations via a video of Weird Al in the studio.
But no, this was not a new song being recorded. It was Weird Al joining his daughter Nina for a taping of her college radio show.
Weird Al's wife and Nina's mother, Suzanne Yankovic, initially posted some photos and the video on her Instagram account, and later, Weird Al shared the video on his TikTok profile, so be sure to go check it out.
Mighty Monster Wheelies was the #1 kids show on Netflix in Canada this past weekend, according to animatic editor Braden DeMorris Purdy.
The show, aimed at young kids, features Weird Al playing Mayor Van Helsing, and it's available to watch right now on Netflix, both in the US and Canada, and I'm sure other places too.
Our listener Robert Kyle let us know that the October 21st, 2024 issue of People magazine with Hoda Kotb on the cover features an exciting crossword puzzle clue.
All right, Dave, the clue is 31 across. Blank, the Al Yankovic Story, TV movie which 17 across played Oprah Winfrey. 5 letters.
Well, I have a guess, but it would be helpful to know what number 17 across is.
All right, well, I haven't quite figured out the answer to that one yet, but the clue is a photo of Quinta Brunson.
Weird. Well, maybe we'll just have to wait for the next issue when they share the answer.
This episode is brought to you in part by Vegan Burrito Restaurant, Burrito, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in quesadilla burrito, and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito, your burrito, and Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say, beefy vegan burgers. From Albany to Uranus, Burrito, and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world plant-based real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquare.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
Our close personal friend and past guest of Dave Neathan's 2000 Inch Weird Al podcast, Adrian Vasquez, has spookified his house again this year using another Weird Al classic song.
He describes it as a warning about the scariest creatures you'll encounter this Halloween. And yes, the song is, of course, Germs.
You will be blown away at the synchronized music and light performance featuring pumpkins, bats, and millions upon millions of tiny one-celled organisms.
Be sure to check out the full video and vote for Adrian's display as the best of the best. You can find the links posted over in our Facebook group over at group.2000inch.com.
There is a celebration of life for our dear friend Joe Jaffa coming up in the Los Angeles area later this week on the 27th.
If you would like to attend and did not receive an invite, please email frank@2000inch.com and your information will be passed along to the Jaffa family.
Well, I cannot wait to hear Cris Shapan talk more about Handy and about working on Weird the Al Yankovic Story. We now resume our interview from last episode, already in progress.
So following whatever you like, what was your next project with Al?
The next thing I actually did with him was Handy in 2014.
One thing that I noticed when I was watching today is when Al is mowing the lawn, or Mr. Handy is mowing the lawn, he kind of bumps and you hear a cat meow. And I was like, is that in the song itself? So I went back and listened to the song and it's not in there on the album. Is that something that you added? Is that something Al added? I was really curious about that.
Yeah, no, we had the song, and I always do, do a little bit of sound design like that while I'm working on something. So that may have been an ad lib on my part.
Yeah.
But, again, it's been a while and it's hard to remember. But by the way, Ibbott shot all the photography, all the exteriors of the houses and stuff, which of course we knifed up and made even uglier. But she drove around looking for really horrible places and took pictures of them. So
that's great.
Bless her heart. I'm so glad she didn't get killed while she was out doing that. There was a very good chance, but she's from Texas. She can take care of herself.
What are the odds she found a house with the number 27 on it?
Well, I had to hit her a few times so that she understood what she needed to do.
Of course.
I just said, just get a map. Just find, a block that's the 20-something block. There's bound to be a 7 in there somewhere. But yeah, that one was fun to put together too. But we just had so little time to work on it, and of course I was putting in 12-hour days at roll show. So
wow.
It was you don't ever want to double dip when you're doing stuff like that because somebody's gonna lose out.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was going to be Al. So, because I had my day job to worry about, but yeah, considering how little time we had, I enjoyed it. I liked the way it turned out, and actually, I liked all the other videos that came out with that.
Oh yeah.
So there were some other really good ones in that bunch, and I was so amazed that year because again, Al is. He's a creative dynamo, but putting all that, not just the album, but all the videos and everything else and releasing it all at once. Well, that's a guy with a lot of creative energy.
Yeah.
So, of course, his creative energy has lasted him now, going on, 50 years? I'm just talking professionally. I can't imagine what he used to do around the house.
Right.
God, that was one of the great things about working on Weird was getting all the childhood photos to work with, where you just, and again his life has been pretty well chronicled, but seeing him as that adorable little kid, it's just like God, he's had that it factor since he was a baby. So, he was somebody that was destined to grow up to be Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, I'm sure in the delivery room his mother went, oh my God, that felt like a Weird Al Yankovic.
Well, since you mentioned Weird, I think that's a great transition to talk about Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. And I would love to hear how you got involved and what sort of stuff you worked on.
Well, I answered an ad on Craigslist. Sorry, that's a different story. I saw Al on the back of a milk carton, and it said he was missing, and I went, no, I know where he lives. We can fix this. But no, he gave me a shout and told me the basic concept and. They had a lady who was coordinating the art department stuff, and we worked with her and with Eric, and they first contacted me in February, and I think we really started working in earnest in like April. And then we finished 2 days before the film was released.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, it was. We went all summer, but yeah, Al was just kind of like, it's lots of Photoshop and crazy stuff, and it's the stuff you do for fun anyway. And I said, of course, I can't imagine ever saying no to that, man.
Right.
So he and Eric. Put together a list of 25 or 30 different things that they'd like to see that would be made from stock photography and pictures of Al. And
we're talking about the end credits right after
Yes,
Al's
yes.
shot, and we get the slideshow.
yeah, and the actual credits themselves too, which I got roped into doing. So,
Oh, really?
so yeah, they were,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, they were like, can you do the credits crawl? And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they're like, okay, here's the 750 names. Like, wait a minute, what?
So you added our names to the credits then?
Did I?
There is a special thanks to Dave and Ethan, and we assume that's us, but we don't know for sure.
Well, there were those guys who brought the bagel bites named Dave and Eve. So, it might have been them.
I was wondering about that.
But, well, except, they were never hot enough. They all still had ice crystals in them. So, I'm hoping it's you guys instead, because you deserved it more. But yeah, they just said, yeah, we need a few graphics. We're doing some magazine covers and some other silly things, and then have this idea for the end credits. All the main on ends, and yeah, it was really an interesting experience, and it is the kind of thing I do for a lot of people, where I put them into photos. And of course the rub is first of all, a lot of them had to reflect the fake things that happened in the movie,
Right.
In the mockumentary. So there were oh yeah, we want Al drunk and out of control on stage. Well, okay, there's not going to be a photo of that lying around, so. but so it's just like, okay, how about if I use Iggy Pop and put Al's head on him? So that's the sort of thing
Right.
we ended up doing. But and actually, here I have to plug Bermuda, because he was kind enough to give me, folders full of the photographs that he's used in his book, the stuff that all the photos he's taken over
Yeah.
the years. So I had to find Al from the approximate time period, and then knife his head off and put him in another photo. And there's no way I could have done that without Bermuda's help. He was just, and every time it's like, dude, I've gone through 100 of these. I need a picture of Al, making this kind of face, looking at this angle, and he'd go, oh, here's another 400 pictures. So
He's just the greatest.
yeah, and it was, not specifically what I needed, but it helped. So,
Right.
he's a wonderful guy, and as I said before this recording, I'm assuming anybody who's listening to your podcast already owns his books.
Right.
If they don't, buy them, because they're wonderful, and if you're a Weird Al fan, then you're going to have to change your pants. So no, they're that wonderful. But yeah, I basically spent weeks going through the Getty photo archives, and I don't know if you guys have ever had to deal with stock. It's part of my life, but when you're dealing with stock photography, there's two different kinds. There's creative, which are the photos people shoot just to put in the stock photography. A family standing outside a home, somebody standing next to their new car that they obviously were just able to buy, an apple with a hat on it. I don't know how we're going to use this, but if we need it, it's here. Things like that, and
Right.
I'm sorry. First thing that just popped into my head, and this is true, I was looking for aerial photography of farmland. How everything is segmented.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I typed it into the Getty search engine, and it gave me a picture of a pit bull eating an ear of corn.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what it's like going through and you just sit there looking through hundreds of pictures at a time, and of course we didn't want creative photos because Al didn't have any corn-eating pit bulls in the movie, so we had to use what's called editorial photos, and these are basically news photos and paparazzi photos and things like that.
Okay.
And so it's like, yeah, we need the photo of Al being arrested during the LA riots.
Right.
Or something like that. So, and, so it'd be like, okay, let me find something where they're carrying somebody, and yeah, I can put his head on that guy, and, let's move on. But in the end, Getty does not like to license those kind of photos for the kind of foolishness that we were engaged in.
Oh.
So if somebody sells a picture of, let's say, the Queen of England to Getty, you're not supposed to, knife it up and make her holding, Al Yankovic in a headlock. And they get really annoyed when you do that sort of thing. And this is something I've run into a million times. I mentioned that Hannibal Buress show, and they had the great idea where they wanted a picture of Jesse Jackson descending into hell. And I found a body of a guy in a business suit who was falling and stuck Jesse Jackson's head on it, and it's, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Well, where did you get the Jesse Jackson head? It's like, well, it's editorial. Yeah, you can't do that. And it got so ridiculous. They were like, okay, well, if you get the permission of the photographer, we'll allow you to use it.
Oh, wow.
And so we tracked the guy down, and he was on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean. And
jeez.
We called him via satellite phone. And
my gosh.
Hey, can we use your picture of Jesse Jackson? And he went, huh? What? I don't care. I sold that to Getty. What the hell are you bothering me with this for? And then we called Comedy Central in New York and said, yeah, we just talked to him. He said it's fine. And they said, great. Has he signed a waiver? And at that point, I turned to the producer and said, okay, let me guess. No matter what we do, the answer is no.
Right.
So, I knew this going into the Weird Al thing, and I told them from day one, yeah, you guys want to show him with David Bowie and with, all these wonderful people. You want Ronald Reagan in there, and, we're going to have a problem with this. Legal's not going to like this.
Yeah.
And, as all directors and showrunners do, they said, oh, don't worry, we'll get it done, it's not a problem, we'll take care of it. And so we started making them up, and then they'd say, no, you can't do that, no. Oh, well, and yeah, no, you can't use those photos here, you can use these. And then we'd start those, and they'd come back and say, no, you can't use those, you gotta make something else. And I guess finally they had to cut a deal with Getty, and I don't want to say what our budget was for the closing credits. It was a nice chunk of money, but the vast majority went to pay for the stock photography, and
oh wow,
whatever was left was what I pocketed. So it's like, well, they want like $1,500 for each photo, and I think we have like 19 of them. Wow. so yeah, it was kind of crazy, but in the end we got it done, and we did it. We did it as no frills as we could, but it still involved a lot of photos. So
yeah. Oh wow. Mm. Do you remember any of the ones that got vetoed or didn't end up getting created?
Oh, well, yeah, there was the one where, Weird Al was posing butt naked for a Cosmopolitan issue. Wow. There was one where he was eating lunch with all the construction workers on top of that girder in that 1930s photo. There was one where he was welding in a 1930s industrial setting, and he had giant goggles on.
That's amazing.
Gosh. They brought the list up on my computer.
Oh, cool.
Throwing out the first pitch at the World Series.
I love it.
And that's the thing. We made a couple of variations on these using watermarked photos, so we didn't have to buy the photos, and we just wanted to try them out. And we had two of that one. One of them he was with Nancy Reagan, and the other one he's at Dodger Stadium with like 8 little kids, and they all have a T-shirt with his face on it, and it's like they're all on his little league team or
Right.
something. And and I forget what it says. It says something like, Al Yankovic's little balonies or something like that.
Amazing.
And that one didn't make it. There was one where he was performing with Michael Jackson at the Super Bowl halftime show, where Michael's in that really aggressive, shouting something posture, and Al's standing in front of him, doing the same thing with his accordion. And again, there were several other, there were a bunch of different funeral ones with celebrities, and there was one where, I forget who it was. It was like Ginger Rogers' funeral or something, but it was like Cesar Romero and a bunch of old Hollywood guys carrying the casket. And then there was the one where it was the giant memorial where it had the farewells from the corporate sponsors. So it was farewell Al from Arby's roast beef. Arby's is delicious, and farewell Al from your friends at Sears, and things like that. So,
Jeez.
Those kind of didn't make it. Got the one where there was one where the original direction was, put him with Paul McCartney or other celebrities of the era. And I was going through Getty, and it's like, here's an actual picture of Al with Paul McCartney. Now, why am I making this? This is, you think mine is going to be better than the real thing? I don't know, but we could just cut to the chase, but I ended up making one where he's with more than just Sir Paul.
Right.
He's David Bowie and
Mick Jagger.
his name Mike Jagger, is it? He's one of the Rolling Stoners, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was funny about these closing credits, Chris, is that they started out with legitimate pictures of Weird Al and his childhood, and you threw us out the years. That he's joining his band and so forth, and Dr. Demento, and then it starts to get to the point where, when I was watching it for the first time, I saw it in a theater at a premiere at TIFF, and I'm looking at these pictures, and I'm thinking, it's nice that they put in pictures from Al's real career, and then it gets to the parts like the first couple ones that you worked on, and I'm thinking, that could have happened. I don't remember seeing that picture before, but it's possible Al took a picture with Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger and David Bowie. And then, it starts getting a little crazier and crazier. And then by the end, it's obvious that, these are manufactured pictures. But what I loved about these ending credits is that they just started out with real pictures and then slowly morphed into pictures that could have been real. And then by the end, it was just like all anarchy. It was a great choice on your part.
I remember talking to Al and Eric about what we were going to do, and of course I hadn't seen the film, so they were so busy cutting it together, and they were explaining, no, it's an alternate history, life of Al, and no, it gets really ridiculous, and it's like, can we have him, like at Studio 54 with Madonna, and I was like, I didn't know. He did this. No, he didn't do it. It's a reflection of something in the film. Oh, okay, I get it. So yeah, I kind of figured out pretty quick where they were going, and and then they wanted me to do these magazine covers that were like People magazine and Rolling Stone and some other industry magazine. But
I know exactly which ones you're talking about.
Yeah, well, we were in a big conference call. We were Zooming with everybody, and they sent me these pictures of Daniel Radcliffe. And of course, they're beautifully shot. They're professionally shot. But it's like, here's the one we want for the cover of People magazine, and that was the first. They told me who was playing him in the film, but that was the first I'd seen, and I just lost it. Just in the middle of the meeting, I opened the picture of Daniel Radcliffe and saw the glasses and the nose and the hair and just couldn't believe what I was looking at and had to excuse myself. And I remember laughing so hard and just being able to say, I can't, I can't look at this anymore. I can't. But yeah, I was just like, God, I don't know what the hell these guys are doing, but I'm in.
Yeah.
So, this is, I love absurdity like that, but yeah, so, I got to do those album covers and
Awesome.
and there were a couple of other little bits of animation I did for the Oprah sequence and some other things. There's one where some album covers fly in, and one of them is The Knack, brought us My Sharona,
Yeah.
and then the next one is Joan Jett. And then the third one was supposed to be Queen News of the World. And we made the animation, and then, again, they came back and said, no, we can't use, News of the World. And, it's like, but that's the album, that's referred to, and,
Right.
and that's what was, concurrent with this. And I was like, okay, can we use another Queen album? And then a week went by, and they came back and said no. and it was like, well, I guess they had to fight real hard to make mention of them in the film, because, there's it was probably the scene you guys were in. Was it the thing around the pool, the big party?
Oh, no, we were in the biker bar scene.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know you then, so, but yeah, there was a thing about the big pool party, and he runs into Freddie Mercury or somebody from Queen at the party, and they're talking about how he opened up for them and blew them away. But they had to fight to make reference to the band, and then when it came to the album cover, it was like, no, absolutely not. No, you're making fun of Freddie Mercury. No, you can't do this. So it ended up in the film, Eric just drew, and it looks like a 5-year-old drew it. It's a black album cover with a crown on it that just says Queen and in a childish scrawl. And that's what we ended up using in the movie. It was just like, okay, you won't let us use the artwork, we'll make our own. Here, put this in there.
It's so great.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, it was a great experience, and again, a lot of laughs, and even though they fought us so hard on those photos,
Yeah.
and God, we clear one level, and then it's like, okay, the legal people working on the movie said it's okay, and then someone at the network, legal, would go, who said this was okay? and we'd have to go through it all over again.
Oh,
so.
jeez.
I think the one thing that stands out to me probably is the one that stands out to Dave. So Dave, I don't know if you want to ask about this one. I think you probably know.
Yeah, I was going to ask about this one, because this one is near and dear to my heart and all Weird Al fans' hearts, and that is the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I just want to hear how you created that particular ending credit slide.
Well, first of all, from what I know about the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, some bonehead somewhere spent a whole crap load of time trying to get it taken. It's absolutely unimaginable to me why anybody would waste precious minutes of their life.
Yeah, what a wasted amount of time that was. That was incredibly long, hard amount of work to get that done just for a tiny little sliver of stone on a random street in Hollywood. I don't know why anyone would spend all their time trying to get that worked out.
The crazy thing is, like, if you're an insider like me, you know that they just had a Weird Al star sitting around for like 8 years. So they were just waiting for someone to come along, and like, oh yeah, we made that back when he did I Love Rocky Road. So it's been gathering dust up there, next to the guy who played Automan. But and the Arthur Godfrey one we tore up, but, and all the Trump ones that have been defaced with a swastika. So there's a whole dumpster full of those, I'm sure. But yeah, we were doing the memorial, and being an LA native, I thought, that's the first thing that happens when somebody kicks it in this town is people go out and festoon their star. So it's like, oh no, Lucille Ball died. I'm going to go put a pack of Chesterfields on her star. So, it's always like that. And of course, sometimes it's downright funny because, it's like, 3 people came by and left a flower. But yeah, the Al star and I don't remember where I got the picture of the star. It must have been a stock photo because I've taken pictures, and actually I used some of my own photos to fill it out because I remember a part of it was in shadow. So it really is a composite of a whole bunch of pictures, and part of it is also part of that star is Leonard Nimoy's star.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So I had to, in order to fix some bad light and shadow, I had to composite somebody else's star on top. But and the memorial that's left around it, the candles and the flowers and everything, are from a picture of Joan Rivers' star. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I just knifed them out and put them on top of Al's star, and then went in and photoshopped new text and new wishes on the cards and stuff. So that I figured if it said Joan Rivers, no one would believe it.
I love the Charles Nelson Riley note to Al.
Yes, yeah. Actually, God, I can't remember, but that changed because the original one was something that was deemed to be offensive or not funny.
Oh.
I can't remember what it was, but it was just like, okay, let's just do Charles Nelson Riley.
Oh, was it someone else besides Charles Nelson Riley?
Yeah, it was, and I think that the wishes were more like, good riddance, you piece of crap.
Oh no.
Something along those lines.
Oh man.
So I think we just opted to make a few changes. Well, again, it's a very fluid process.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I remember as those came together, there were some things that we needed to fix. But for the most part, again, God, Al and Eric were just like, oh my God, that's great. And actually, I have to bring up the one with the Queen.
Yes.
Because, of course, as has been pointed out, the movie debuted the night after she died.
We were in the audience when it debuted, and it was incredible.
Well, and yes, and of course, that was Toronto, so they were actually the Queen's subject.
Right.
And, there was a little flurry of emails like, ooh, do we want to replace that, with something? Because, of course, again, the list was from, 5 months before.
Right.
So,
Sure, you had no idea, right?
No, who could have imagined that, a 98-year-old woman would die? So,
well, let alone the day before.
Yeah, no, the timing was just incredible. And it's funny because in the original description of what they wanted, she was supposed to be giving him a noogie. And, I went through the photos, for weeks, and it's just like, yeah, I can't find one where the Queen's giving anybody a noogie. She just wasn't that type of queen, bless her heart. But yeah, so, I managed to cobble the headlock thing together, and it's like, you guys, the noogie's not going to make or break this photo. This is fine. But yeah, I was just horrified at the timing of that, and I was just like, God, I'm so glad I'm not in Toronto, because there would be, torches and pitchforks.
Well, luckily it was an audience of Weird Al fans, and, people got the joke. They weren't upset.
I know, but, Canadians are just so demonstrative when they're angry.
That's true. That is very true.
You'd have a crowd of people going, that's our queen, that's disrespectful, So I didn't want to face that kind of anger.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was kind of fun, and then of course getting the credits to run out to Al's song. which was another fun thing because he hadn't cut the song when we started.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Like, well, I
wow.
gotta animate it to the song, and he was like, but I gotta write the song to the credits.
Oh, okay.
And it was kind of like, well, one of us is going to have to give in.
Yeah.
So he put together like a 5.5 minute cut of the song and mentioning things in the song that have to be reflected in the titles. So, getting all that to fit up. And then they would change the titles. And it's like, on the caterers, we're adding, the mayonnaise supervisor and, the egg peeler and the guy who buys the spoons at Best Buy. And, they'd add 16 more credits, and I'd have to put them in and retime the entire thing.
Oh, man.
Oh, jeez.
And then they come back a few days later and say, oh, yeah, no, strike the guy who peels the eggs, and, no, the guy with the spoons, just put him under the caterer banner. And so, it was this fluid thing where I kept having to change people and add people and subtract people, and you guys are getting paid every day. I'm just sitting here making these changes for nothing.
Right.
So, either finalize it or pay me something. So yeah, I think they decided every time I had to retime it and re-render it, I got $100.
Oh, well, that's good.
So, oh yeah,
okay.
No, that's great.
So you're a millionaire.
Here in California, that'll buy you like 4 gallons of gas out here. So, or 2 Big Macs.
There's a part in the song where he's like, "Oh, I met this guy. Did you choose the name, or did Al or Eric say who to choose?"
Yeah, no, that was something where we had to wait and see where the credits were when that line came up, and finally it was just like, that guy. So, it's like, oh, did you actually meet him? No, but but he's in the right place at the right time, so we did that. And then between that and getting the fake endings all lined up, correctly, it was I've done a lot of credit sequence, but that was easily the toughest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, I got to put my own name in there, so
Oh, that's true.
that made me feel good for 30 seconds. The whole thing just took a long time and was a lot of work and had a lot of people involved and made a lot of legal people crazy and but in the end I sure liked what it turned out to be. And actually, all those photos of him of him as a little kid, I had to go in and restore those and clean them up and clean all the dust and crap off of them and so that they would fit that super wide format.
Right.
I had to build like huge amounts of background and recompose the photos to make them work.
Oh.
So, that was almost as much work as the fake photos.
Oh, wow.
Interesting, huh?
But again, I got to stare at, Al's adorable little face. So, it's like, look at those cheeks. I love this guy, so love that we got to include those. And Al got cleaned up photos of his childhood.
Right, yeah.
That's a nice outcome too.
He likes the way I clean up things. He had me do that 4K re-rendering of Edith.
Yeah. What went into that?
I guess he went and found the original, I think it was 16 millimeter film that they shot when they did the video and digitized them at 4K. Which was great, except the film was full of dust and gruts and maggots and pieces of spaghetti and whatever else, things that people spilled on them over the years. So I had to go in there frame by frame and
wow.
Clone out all that noise. And
holy crap!
I think it was something like 3,000 clone brush strokes by the time I was done. Well, they have software that'll do that, but I'm apparently not wise to it.
But it looks great. I mean, you did such a great job on it, and I think initially when Al posted it, the breathing on the lens gag didn't make it, and so you added that in?
Yeah. We had to recreate that. So that was kind of, I had the original copy to look at, and we tried to make it look as close to the original as possible.
So cool.
And there were a couple of other things that were effects that they did way back when that, by digitizing the film, it's just like, you can see the edges of the frame and stuff. But, he was cool with the fact that, it's like, we can't reshoot this. So,
right.
it kind of is what it is. But I was proud that he asked me to do it.
Yeah.
Plus, he paid for a bowl of macaroni and cheese for me.
Oh, well, hey. Can't go wrong there.
Yeah. That's better than union scale.
Well, Cris, this has just been incredible. I feel like there's still so much more that we could go over, but I really appreciate all the time you gave us to go through such incredible things that you've created for and with Al over your career. If people are interested in seeing, you do see these really great things under the banner Deluxe Fuxley, Fuxley, and you can find those all over the internet and on your Facebook page. So I highly recommend people go and check that out. And just want to thank you again for such a great interview. Thank you so much, Cris.
Oh, well, gosh, it's been a lot of fun, and I've always wanted to be on a podcast, and well, all this time I thought I needed to own a pod, and I didn't realize that people on the other end could have it. So I'm thrilled that somebody finally was interested enough to ask me on board, and I'm sorry that I talked for 6.5 hours, but I still have a lot more to say.
Well, thank you so much. We'll have to have you back on again sometime.
Oh yeah, by all means, I would love to. And if Al's out there, hey, if you need anything else, I'm out of macaroni. Thank you, and good luck, you guys, and keep doing the good work you're doing, and I think it's wonderful.
A super huge thank you to the incredible and talented Cris Shapan.
And again, if you don't already, do yourself a favor and be sure to follow Cris Shapan, Deluxe Fuxley Corporate Archives on Facebook.
This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also got free plants.
An anonymous participant in the Life in Darwin, Minnesota, world's largest ball of twine Facebook group, is offering up free plants.
I'll accept my pants from just about anybody, as long as I know their name.
No, not pants, Dave. Plants.
Well, I have a similar rule when it comes to plants. Please tell me more.
Well, there are 3 plants, and they have lived outside all summer and need a home.
Isn't outside where plants are supposed to live, though?
2 of the plants are spider plants, and the 3rd is a fern.
Now, I know you said plants, but wouldn't it be absolutely crazy if spiders wore pants? So many little leg sleeves.
You can see the pictures of the plants by visiting the Life in Darwin, Minnesota, world's largest ball of twine Facebook group. The anonymous participant has asked anyone interested in the plants to simply direct message them.
Wait, if they posted anonymously without sharing their name or profile photo, how are people able to direct message them?
Well, regardless, all of us here at Discover Darwin hope these plants can find the loving home they need and deserve.
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next plant rehoming expedition. Discover Darwin, more than just a twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit www.discoverdarwin.biz.
Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito Burrito, Wizard Burger, our very own Jackson Scoggins, Discover Darwin, and our very own Kenneth Crazy Ken Gwinnett. Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our very own close personal friend level Patreon supporters. UH Jeff, Casey Killingsworth, Kev Messick, Blair, Matt T, Ajax, Zach Casper, Zeb, Yankovic 38, Devlin, Ron, Adriana Banana Yugovic, Weird Stream Date Nancy, Scotter Brothers, Allison, Dana B. and Beaker, Javier, and also thanks to Rim Gems, Jared and Rocky, Jeremy Samples, Tom Dog, Cato Carroll, Dave Canyon, and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our birthday-rific Weird Al podcast, as heard in the Weird Al Yankovic Story commentary track, please consider supporting us over at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits, like getting your name read on the podcast, your very own private RSS feed, which gives you early access to each and every one of our bonus episodes, and the self-satisfaction of doing something important with your otherwise pitiful, meaningless existence. And do not forget to check out our official merchandise shop over at shop.2000inch.com. All proceeds from purchases go directly towards supporting our fine podcast.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community at group.2000inch.com and visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rum to Goody related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at 2000inch.com or weirdalpodcast.com.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, X, Threads, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts so you do not miss a single episode. Not only does subscribing help the podcast, it will also prevent the monkeys in the Pentagon from cooking our goose.
Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via official patent-pending 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline 347-SPATULA, as seen in the Illustrated Al, The Songs of Weird Al Yankovic. That number is 347-772-8852. Give it a call or a text, and you might even hear your message in a future episode.
Thank you once again to Cris Shapan for joining us these past 2 episodes. We'd also like to thank Mike Minnick, Adrian Vasquez, Robert Kyle, Braden DeMorris Purdy, J.M. Kehoe, Scott Aukerman, Paul F. Tompkins, Corinne Eckert, special guest Jackie Rossi, Johnny O'Hearn, Spunky Siren, Amanda Cohen, the Jaffa family, Rob Kuttner, Dwight Yoakam, our very own Claire Walsh, and the anonymous participant in the Life in Darwin, Minnesota, world's largest ball of twine Facebook group, and their 3 free plants.
Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kima West for our incredible podcast theme song, and thank you to the birthday boy himself, Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. Thank you also to John Bermuda Schwartz, Steve J., Ruben Valtierra, Jay Levy, and the irreplaceable Joe Jaffa. And a big thanks to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until your next birthday, remember to gill and chill, keep listening to Weird Al, and stay cheesy. Ethan, how are you planning to celebrate Weird Al's birthday today?
Well, I figured I'd keep it pretty casual and low-key this year compared to what I've done previous years.
Oh, really? So what's on the agenda?
Well, first, I'll be reciting the entirety of Albuquerque backwards in my underwear while gargling a mixture of Spam, Oreo white stuff, and Diet chocolate soda.
Delicious.
Then I plan to knock on the doors of each person in my town while singing Mr. Frump in the Iron Lung, a cappella, also in my underwear.
Well, obviously.
Then, once I start to get a little cold, I plan to stick my head in the microwave just to get a tan, but not before investing in stock in Euro Disney.
Now that's very smart.
Finally, I will buy 27 hamsters, train them in hand-to-hand combat, and then let them loose on the Jungle Cruise ride. This will all also be in my underwear, of course.
Well, you are taking it easy this year. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, well, 64 isn't really a milestone year, so I'm just not worrying too much about it.
Ethan, you do realize that Weird Al is actually turning 65? That is a pretty huge milestone.
Well, guess I need to hire the mime, ukulele juggler, and Elvis impersonator after all.
Is that all one person?
Don't ask.
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 247-inch.
In a pinch to grow 2000-inch.
If somebody sells a picture of, let's say, the Queen of England to Getty, you're not supposed to knife it up and make her holding Val Yankovic in a headlock. oh my God, that sounds like a Weird Al Yankovic.